researching what topic to do for this video, I read through the comments of my prior videos that I've posted, and I realized that I've never done just a pressure cooking 101. So that's what this video is. The first question and most fundamental question about pressure cookers is, how does this thing work? Why is it different from cooking with regular old pots and pans on the stove? The basic explanation is steam is not allowed to escape from a pressure cooker. It's kept inside. That steam then builds up pressure. It takes up more space. As the pressure and the heat rises inside the pot, all that steam gets forced into whatever food you have in there. And that's how the food is cooked. Here is my pressure cooker. Now it has not yet come to full pressure. When the water started to boil in this pot, the steam was not allowed to escape because there's a rubber gasket around the edge. The only space where the steam can escape from this pot is a little stem that's right underneath this thing right here. That's the pressure regulator, and you can see when I move that around, there is a lot of pressure going on inside of this pot. When you are cooking on the stovetop with a regular pot and pan, and if you have a potato boiling in some water, let's say, the steam is escaping. The water is boiling, and steam comes out. Even if you put the lid on, if there's space there around the edges, it's very easy for the steam to escape from this pot. It's the water that's cooking your potato, and that's why it takes so much longer. Pressure inside of a pressure cooker is the key to what makes the cooking process so much faster. Is a pressure cooker safe? Is this thing going to blow up in my face? Long story short, unless you turn your pressure cooker into a bomb on purpose, there is zero chance in this world of it blowing up into fragments in your kitchen. It can spontaneously release pressure, which is where the pot flies around, flies off the stove, and food and steam and hot water everywhere. And that is dangerous, and that can happen, but that is mostly avoidable if you check the thing over, make sure it's clean, and make sure nothing on it is broken or malfunctioning. I've made a more specific video about this topic, which I'll put a link to. Another really common question about pressure cooking is, what can I cook in this thing? What foods cook the best in a pressure cooker? For me, a pressure cooker is all about cooking something that would normally take a very long time using conventional cook methods. Root vegetables, sweet potatoes, regular potatoes, beets, carrots, beans, lentils. The more complicated your recipe item is, the more trial and error that you need to go through in order to make sure that this thing's gonna turn out right. This leads me to the next question, can I cook meat? The kinds of meat that do the best in a pressure cooker are the really tough types of meat. They can really cut down on the time that it takes to cook the stew meat. So stew meat has a lot of tough kind of fat, little connective tissue. On the flip side, you would never want to cook what I would consider a fine piece of meat in the pressure cooker, such as like a filet mignon or something like that. You can ruin foods in the pressure cooker, okay? And you don't want to do that. You don't want to turn your lovely little filet into a stone, right? And that can happen in a pressure cooker. There are some foods that you can cook in the pressure cooker that just take a little bit of practice. The foamy foods, rice, beans, lentils. Even when you cook rice on the stove, you know, like it gets that sort of bubbly stuff. You have to adjust the water to rice ratio, and the timing is different as well. What are foods that you should not cook in a pressure cooker? The number one item is deep fried foods. You would never want to substitute oil for the water that you would put in a pressure cooker to steam your food and try to make, like, let's say, fried chicken. Dairy does not generally do well. Yogurt, milk, cream. The high heat and pressure can cause dairy products to curdle and separate. How much liquid do I need to put into my pressure cooker? According to the Hawkins website, and I get all of my information directly from their website, the minimum amount of liquid you should have in your pressure cooker is 1 cup for every 10 minutes of cooking, plus an additional ½ cup for every additional 10 minutes or portion of 10 minutes. So for example, when I cook beets, they take about 11 minutes. I put 1.5 cups of water into my cooker. So it's 1 cup for those first 10 minutes and then an additional half cup for that additional minute. So you do have to account and add that extra liquid for that extra 1 minute of cooking. Maybe you guys can help me. It does not differentiate on the Hawkins website. It says that this is the minimum amount of liquid. It doesn't say whether this is good for the little tiny cookers all the way up to the big cookers. You have one of those big, giant big boys, or like the 12 liters. How much liquid do you put in there? Let me know. You could leave it in the comments. Now notice that I said liquid. The liquid does not necessarily have to be straight water. It can be anything that produces steam, because remember, a pressure cooker cooks by converting water into steam. That steam cooks your food. So whatever liquid you put in there has to convert into steam. So it could be water, it could be stock, beer and wine, vinegar, juices. This does not include oils and fats. Oils and fats cannot be substituted for water. This also applies for thickeners. So you're not gonna make a roux. You're not gonna use cornstarch during the pressure cooking process because those things don't convert into steam. Can I just count whistles instead of using a timer? If you're not sure what you're doing, if you're new to pressure cooking, and if you have a new pressure cooker, you want to bring the pot to full pressure, wait for that first whistle, and then bring the pot down to operating pressure and start your timer. Maybe you had a parent or a grandparent that pressure cooked and you remember as a little kid, being in the kitchen with them, and it was cooking rice takes X number of whistles, cooking potatoes takes X number of whistles. They were very familiar. They'd done their trial and error. They knew how to do this, and they were really practiced at it. After you've pressure cooked for a while and you know instinctively, I've done this a million times, it takes 10 whistles, fine. But when you're starting out or with a new pressure cooker, definitely, use your timer. It's a little hard to believe that my next one is a frequently asked question because it's a little bit scary to think so, but I'm gonna go ahead and answer it anyway because it is a frequently asked question. Can I leave a pressure cooker unattended on the stovetop? Like, can I leave the house? I mean, you're cooking on your stove, right? Definitely not. Never leave a pressure cooker unattended on the stovetop. I rarely even leave the room while I'm pressure cooking, just in case something looks like it's about to go wrong. You can shut the heat off and, avoid a mess. Do I really need to perform a trial run? Yes. When you're pressure cooking, it really pays off to do a trial run. You don't want to put some nice expensive food and have all these high hopes into a pressure cooker that's brand new if you've never done it before. I had someone comment, I made another trial run video. I'll put a link to that here. Just because the word whistle is used to describe what happens when a pressure cooker comes to full pressure, they expected it to sound like a lifeguard whistle. And it doesn't. It's like a burst of steam. It's a whoosh. People use the word whistle just because it's a nice word to use, but it doesn't really accurately describe what happens. And when the pot came to full pressure and that big burst of steam happened, this person was completely freaked out and unprepared for that. They did watch my video though, and so it made them a little less scared. You should get used to the rhythm of pressure cooking before you start cooking with food. It's pretty interesting to actually watch the cooker go through its process, bring it up to full pressure, bring it down to operating pressure, start your timer, just go through it once or twice before you try it out with the real thing. Another common question is, why didn't this work? Why didn't my food turn out right? There are recipes and recommendations on websites, but depending upon all the different variables on your stovetop, you may have to adjust things a little bit. You may realize that cooking it for a minute less or a minute more is the ticket. Again, a minute's a long time in pressure cooking. So don't get discouraged if your food doesn't turn out perfect the first time. There are 3 specific things that right off the top of my head I can think of. Don't depressurize using an instant release method if a recipe calls for depressurizing naturally. You can either lift the pressure regulator and let the steam all come out, at once, or you can leave the pot just on the stove, turn the heat off. The pressure will dissipate naturally over a few minutes, and that is intentional. If a recipe says let the pot depressurize naturally, you have to do that because they factored in that time. The food is still cooking, it's still under pressure. Don't do the instant release method because you're going to be cutting your cook time short. And vice versa, if it says do instant release where you once, we're gonna have nice rice. If you leave it in for an extra 5 minutes, you're gonna have mush. Secondly, use the timing method until you get really used to this and you have a lot of practice and you know what you're doing. The third big one is don't overfill the pressure cooker with either too much food or too much liquid. The pressure cooker, when you're making non-frothing foods, so veggies, for example, beets, potatoes, stuff like that, you shouldn't be filling it more than 2/3 full. You should have some space. There needs to be space for the steam to cook the food, right? You can't have food all the way up to the top, plus you won't be able to get the lid on. If you're cooking frothing foods like rice, dal, lentils, you need to leave even more space because they're gonna create foam, right? You don't want that foam rising up and coming out through your steam vent. That's about it for now. Thanks for watching. I hope these little tips and tricks help you. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section below. I don't always know the answers to everything, especially specifics about recipes. I might not be able to always answer your questions. Go ahead and ask, and if I can, then I certainly will. I think I'm gonna do a sprouting video next. I did a video with a couple different sprouting devices already, and I'm gonna go ahead and test these again. I had problems with both of these. I think this one's called the Easy Sprouter, and I can't remember what this one's called, but I got both of these on Amazon. Broccoli seeds, that's my jam. I love broccoli sprouts, and I have found that an inverted mason jar kit works the best for me, but a lot of people have told me to try these things again, and so I'm going to. So that's gonna be my next video. I appreciate you watching, I really do. Thanks again for watching. Oh, shoot. I didn't mean to do that. Bye.